Professor Pete. How's it going? This is still week one of animation class. I want to define what is animation because I hear animation all the time. I talk to people and I tell them I teach animation. They go, wow, animation, what is that? Is that like a Pixar movie? And it's true. It is like a Pixar movie, but it is much more than that. So let's have a look. What is animation? This is my definition of animation. It's creating emotion with motion. Giving life, creating life to inanimate objects. A great example is Toy Story, where we actually see toys come to life that are moving. They have emotion. The way they move, the way you move, the way I move dictates what we're feeling, what our objective, what our motive is, what we're doing that day, culturally where we are, our age, our economic status even. These are all very important based on the way we move. If we were to think about what we see on TV, animation is actually just a bunch of frames, right? It's just a drawing. Because of the frames per second, 24 frames, we're able to then calculate and sense that something is moving based on that. So that is what animation is. I always like to watch the end credits of animated movies because this is a great indication to see what kind of jobs are available in the animation industry. Now here is the end credits for WALL-E. Excuse the quality of the video footage, but you'll see as I'm scrubbing through, you do see the names of the musicians, but then you get to art. Okay, so you have artists, production artists in this. We have one matte painter, which is a background person who paints. We have a bunch of digital painters. There's 6 digital painters in the movie WALL-E. Editorial is quite large. Marketing is large. If you look at the credits now, they even show even the chefs, people who worked to feed the people. Here's animation. Animation, especially at Pixar, has always been known to be the pinnacle of any studio. And as you see this list, you'll see there is easily 60 people who worked on animation, the movement of the characters in WALL-E. There's additional animators too. There's another, 10 animators. Under character, you'll see that there's 2 character managers and there's character modelers, which is roughly, 16 people, crowds and simulation, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of people who are working in animation. So if we go down here, you'll see that there's even more in pre-production. Story writer, concept designer, environments, people who design the characters and the props, storyboard artists. Then there's production. Modelers, animators, texture artists, people who light the scenes. Those are all separate people. Technical directors, someone who designs the skeletal system for the characters so they can move. There's certain people who do cloth simulation, crowd simulation, smoke, water, clouds even. And then there's people who, I hate to say this, but push the button to turn the computers on and make sure that everything renders out. Then you got to think about the compositor and the sound effects people, musical composers. The list goes on and on. Here is a graphic that shows what it takes to make a 3D animated production. It's very similar to 2D animation. You can almost say the same for video games, except for video games there's more programming involved. But there's the idea. They have a storyboard, someone who creates animatics even, someone then goes and designs the production and the post-production. So this is where the pre-production package comes into play, especially early on. We have the idea and we have the story. That's the first part of the assignment. The second assignment is the second part of the pre-production, which is the storyboard, animatic, and then going ahead and starting to design the characters and adding movement to the characters. Again, so that's the 3D production pipeline. Here's another graph that shows the start of a film and video pipeline. So you can see the pre-production, you see the asset creation, you have to see the shots, and then you see the finishing. All right. There's a lot of stuff there, all the way from modeling, camera extraction, animation, etc., etc. There's a lot there. Moving on to the 12 basic principles of animation. Now, this is the Western definition of animation. This is stuff that we see. Hollywood is really big on this. This was a set of principles introduced by Disney animators Ollie Johnston and Frank Thomas, and it's documented in the book 1981, The Illusion of Life, Disney Animation. So you have to imagine back a long time ago in the 1930s when they're building up Disney, making animation, there was not schools where you could study animation, so they had to have in studio trainers teaching artists how to animate, and then that's how they ended up with the 12 principles. The 12 principles is based on this book. It's from Amazon, and you can see, look at the star rating, 4.9 stars. There's not even a single 1 star on here. I don't know why there's a bunch of 2 stars. But there you go. That is the book to buy if you're going to be studying animation. It's still very, very relevant. So as I was saying before, animation, we think of Walt Disney. He is the man. Over on the other side of the world, it's Hayao Miyazaki. Spirited Away, for example. My Neighbor Totoro also is another one. There are a few of these top level animators, and these are just a couple of them. We will get a chance to look at the 12 principles as you see through here in this list. We have timing, slow in and out, squash, stretch. I will provide you a link to watch. There's an animated video clip that a student had made in the past that illustrates the 12 principles very, very well based on the book. So have a look at that. And then finally, this is a major tip for you. As you can see on the screen here, degrees of perfection versus time and effort. Animation can take a long time just for that little bit extra detail. And so here you can see, okay, on the top to bottom, the degree of perfection you can get, if you follow that red line over time on the bottom, okay, to get an A, for example, okay, let's say it's 100 hours, just to round off, okay, to get to just the C is, maybe 20 hours, for example. So, to get even higher and higher, it's very, very difficult. So the amount of time and effort required to produce animation can be very long. So just to think about, for example, a Pixar movie. It takes 5 years to make one Pixar movie from beginning to end. It takes about 200 people also, right? That's why the budgets are about 200 million. Gone down a little bit to about 150, 120, but still, that is a lot of money. So you can see that in this case, if we are giving ourselves for the final project, 40 hours, okay, we're going to have to work quickly through this. If we spend all of our time on one thing in 35 hours and only have 5 hours left to do something else, it's going to be tough to make something look really nice. So that being said, I'll be talking about this again more, but I just wanted to share with you the definition of animation, so that way you can have an informed and fruitful discussion when you talk to someone about animation. In a nutshell, there is a lot to it. So we'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Professor Pete out.